Trump is really bad at being anti-gay. This story from NBC News: Trump administration launches global effort to end criminalization of homosexuality. The administration is responding in part to a reported hanging of a young gay man in Iran, Trump's top geopolitical foe. Excuse me. They say the Trump administration is launching a global. Okay, we read that in the headline. U.S. Ambassador to Germany Richard Grenell, the highest profile openly gay person in the Trump administration, is leading the effort, which kicks off Tuesday evening in Berlin. The U.S. Embassy is flying in LGBT activists from across Europe for a strategy dinner to plan to push for decriminalization in places that still outlaw homosexuality, mostly concentrated in the Middle East, Africa, and the Caribbean. It is concerning that in the 21st century, some 70 countries continue to have laws that criminalize LGBTI status or conduct, said a U.S. official involved in organizing the event. It's really fascinating what I hear from protesters, and I can't get an answer out of them. For Subverse, we recently produced a piece where Emily went down to protest in Philadelphia to ask protesters what they thought. The goal with this piece, and some people were not happy with it because they think we're supposed to show, and we'll explain this, it's just to get their point of view. I will not, nor will anyone with Subverse, create any gotcha interviews. We will not go down to protests and only show stupid people. We will not go down and do selective edits or stupid questions or gotcha questions. We are not going to Jimmy Kimmel people and try and make them look dumb and only edit in dumb people. And we're not going to do the opposite, only making them look smart. The goal with going down and talking to people was to ask them, why are you here? What do you believe in? Why are you doing it? Done, plain and simple. Some of them were smart, some of them were dumb. In my experience, most of the people protesting don't have any idea what they're talking about. The reason I bring this up is specifically from the story. Trump is launching this global effort to fight for LG rights, LGB rights. I don't know. It doesn't include trans. The reason I bring it up is because I've heard so many protesters say racist, sexist, anti-gay, Donald Trump, go away. It's a common chant. So I ask, what about Trump is racist? And one of the challenges is the definition, because the left has a different definition. What they actually mean is prejudicial, but they use the word racist. They'll say Muslim, Mexican, and to Trump supporters, they'll say something like, okay, those are not races. Mexican is a nationality. It's not even an ethnicity. Okay. You're actually thinking of a subcategory of a racial group called mestizos, right? Because there are Mexicans who are white. You're talking about a nationality. It'd be like saying you're racist against Americans. Like, that's not possible. Muslim, Islam, it's a religion. Okay. I was talking to someone and they said, Trump was racist against Muslims. And I said, but what does that mean? There are white Muslim people. And they're like, oh, but you know what I mean? It's mostly about Arabs. And I was like, Pacific Island, countries, Southeast Asian countries are Muslim too. I think Indonesia, for instance. Are you going to, if you put that person next to a white Muslim and an Arab Muslim, how do you be racist against them for being Muslim? They can look like different things. They can just look like people, right? They say he's anti-gay. And I asked them, like, what specifically has Trump done? Trump unfurled like an LGBT flag. He got the RNC, the Republicans, to clap and cheer for the gay community. So listen, criticize the man for being your American imperialist politician. That's typically my criticism. It's foreign policy issues, which I think he's done some good things. He's done a lot of bad things. But here's the thing. I think Trump he culturally grosses me out. And you hear me say this all the time, whatever. The things he's doing as president are basically the same thing all the other presidents have done, and it's exactly why I didn't like any of them. But they want you to hate Trump arbitrarily. They want you to just hate him. It's like, listen, man, I don't care for the man. You guys know I don't care for them. If you want me, you got to give me legitimate reasons. I have my reasons. I read the news all the time. I know what he's doing, and I dislike the foreign policy stuff for the most part. I don't know a lot about the domestic policy stuff. It's not my wheelhouse. So I'm kind of just like neutral, but because of the things he's done I don't like, and because I don't like his personality, I lean towards the negative. But I do think he's done some things that are good. I think this is fantastic. Hey man, this is great. Let's read on. Although the decriminalization strategy is still being hashed out, officials say it's likely to include working with global organizations like the United Nations, the European Union, and Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, as well as other countries whose laws already allow for gay rights. Other U.S. embassies and diplomatic posts throughout Europe, including the U.S. mission to the EU, are involved, as is the State Department's Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights and Labor. Narrowly focused on criminalization rather than broader LGBT issues like same-sex marriage, the campaign was conceived partly in response to the recent reported execution by hanging of a young gay man in Iran. the Trump administration's top geopolitical foe. Grenell, as Trump's envoy to Germany, has been an outspoken Iran critic and has aggressively pressed European nations to abandon the 2015 nuclear deal and reimpose sanctions. But while the Trump administration has had some success in pressuring Iran through stepped-up U.S. penalties, efforts to bring the Europeans along have thus far largely fallen flat. People often criticize social justice warriors in the U.S. for being so hell-bent on resolving issues that are barely issues. When you have people being killed for being gay in Iran or thrown off buildings, I would like to see the focus of feminism and social justice and gay rights and all that focus on these countries that are doing atrocious things. Slavery still exists in this world, okay? I understand you're upset about perceived racism and some actual racism in this country. We can stop those things. We don't need to abandon the United States. We can still work to better the U.S. But can we also focus some of that anger towards the slave trade happening in Northern Africa or in the Middle East? What's happening, what happened with the construction of the World Cup Stadium, I believe. I can't remember which country. So I think it's, was it Bahrain? It's been a while. But you have these issues. They exist. You have women just being granted the right to drive. There are a lot of issues internationally that I would be very grateful to see resolved. So this is fantastic. I would absolutely. Now, I'll say this. Do I trust the Trump administration in caring about gay rights? Not entirely. I don't. But that's besides the point. Trump may be doing this, and they kind of allude to this fact because he's at odds with Iran. They want to end the nuclear deal. So it's good for Trump to bring up this cultural issue, social issue, because it'll get people on the left to support him. You know what? Does the reason why he's doing it matter if it accomplishes something good? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. In this instance, I'll say, okay, gay rights, all for 100%. If you can end the execution of individuals for who they love, let's make it happen. Plain and simple. We'll focus on the rest when the rest comes, we'll cross the other bridge when it comes to it. But for whatever reason, Trump wants to do something good. Let's make sure he gets it done. Trump wants to end, the conflict in the Korean Peninsula. Let's make sure he gets it done. These are good things. You can hate the man. You can be disgusted by his rhetoric and the things he's done in his life. You can be disgusted by his domestic policies, but just support the good things. Okay, can we get the good things done? I think everybody in this country would agree this is a good thing. Even those who might not like, homosexuality. I'm pretty sure you recognize executing people, imprisoning them for this is a bad thing. Let's read on. Reframing the conversation on Iran around a human rights issue that enjoys broad support in Europe could help the United States and Europe reach a point of agreement on Iran. Grenell called the hanging a wake-up call for anyone who supports basic human rights. In Bild, a leading German newspaper this month. This is not the first time the Iranian regime has put a gay man to death with the usual outrageous claims of prostitution, kidnapping, or even pedophilia. And it sadly won't be the last time, Grenell wrote. Barbaric public executions are all too common in a country where consensual homosexual relationships are criminalized and punishable by flogging and death. He added that politicians, the UN, democratic governments, diplomats, and good people everywhere should speak up and loudly. Yet by using gay rights as a cudgel against Iran, the Trump administration risks exposing close U.S. allies who are also vulnerable on the issue and creating a new tension point with the one region where Trump has managed to strengthen U.S. ties, the Arab world. Don't care. I understand that. If Trump's willing to get behind gay rights in this matter, okay, good. Saudi Arabia should absolutely we should put pressure on them too. Good. You disagree? Comment. But great. They can call it a cudgel. They can try and make it seem like Trump is only doing this to win points against Iran, but it's going to affect the entire region. And personally, I think that's a good thing. Absolutely. In Saudi Arabia, whose monarchy Trump has staunchly defended in the face of human rights allegations, homosexuality can be punishable by death, according to a 2017 worldwide report from the International Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Trans, and Intersex Association. The report identified 72 nations that still criminalize homosexuality, including 8 where it's punishable by death. That list includes the United Arab Emirates, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, all U.S. allies, although those countries aren't known to have implemented the death penalty for same-sex acts. In Egypt, whose leader Trump has effusively praised, homosexual relations aren't technically illegal, but other morality laws are used aggressively to target LGBT people. New U.S. pressure on those countries to change their laws comes as the Trump administration is working to use nascent ties between Arab nations and Israel to form a powerful axis against Iran, a strategy that dovetails with the administration's planned rollout of an ambitious plan for the Israeli-Palestinian peace. Good luck. Good luck. Yes, absolutely good luck. That's Israel-Palestine. Rick and Morty made a joke about it because it is such a difficult issue to deal with. So I get it. They really hammer this point in very it's somewhat criminal. Critical. This piece trying to make it seem like Trump was only doing this for one reason. Maybe that's true. Maybe, but maybe it doesn't matter. It doesn't. There are so many stories about, say, like a woman who was raped in the Emirates or in like Qatar or Dubai or something, and when she reports it, she gets arrested. Or people who have, like, they found poppy seeds on you, and then they say, oh, that's heroin, you get arrested, right? If Trump can bring about cultural change in a good way, in a positive way, and admittedly, it's slow. They're not talking about same-sex marriage. They're talking about just not flogging and killing people for who they love. It's a step in the right direction. We'll figure it out. But I'm glad to see that there's focus on the foreign world in terms of civil rights and social justice. But let me know what you think. Comment below. That's about it. I'll have another video up tomorrow at 10 a.m. So thanks for hanging out. I will see you then.